Good morning. Morning. How
Was the hand gesture.
you? I know, that was great. Thank you. Welcome to our last meeting of the year for 2015, December 22nd for the Board of Supervisors. And we're all very happy to see you here. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Bob Dean, could you lead us, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to report out our closed session this morning. Closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, personnel matter conference with labor negotiator Judy Hawkins, Deputy County Administrative Officer, Human Resources and Risk Management, regarding the Deputy Sheriff's Association, DSA, Sheriff's Management Unit, SMU, and Calaveras County Public Safety Employees Association, CCP, SEA, and Service Employees International Union, SEIU Negotiations, Human Resources Director, Board action, and we have no action taken. So I kind of did that. I'm supposed to do that before the pledge, but hey, it's the last meeting of the year. So, do you have any board announcements?
Mr. Chairman, I noticed we have people in the foyer out there. Maybe we can open that door so they can at least listen. The second door. Lieutenant, could you help us there? Thank you.
Is that Tegan? Hi, Tegan. She grew about a foot already this year, huh? All right. Sorry for the voice, but I think it's that time of the year also. We have recognition and acknowledgements. Mari, are you here? You're hiding in the back. This is Mari. Everybody know Mari? Been our librarian for the past 17 years, and she's retired. Did a great job over there. If any of you have been to the library, you'll notice, actually we have a very, very nice library here in San Andreas, and thanks to Mari, that's how it turned out. So we have a proclamation from the Board of Supervisors this morning I'd like to read. And then you're going to do a little speech, aren't you? All right. So this proclamation is honoring Maury Postra for her 18 years of service as county librarian and congratulating her on her retirement. Is it overdue? Whereas Maury began her career with the County of Calaveras as county librarian on March 2nd, 1998. And whereas Maury has worked constantly for the betterment of the county public library system, which contributes to the intellectual, educational, informational, recreational, and cultural resources of this community, including a hands-on approach with a weekly shift on the circulation desk, keeping the library open Thursday nights and sorting through over 100,000 book donations over the years. And whereas during Maury's tenure as county librarian, she completed projects such as the opening of the Alamy Hill and Copperopolis branch libraries, the relocation of several branch libraries, a circulation system upgrade, book club in a bag, implementation of ebooks, and recent opening of West Point Joint Use Library. With limited fiscal resources during the recession and its aftermath, Maury kept libraries open and committed to offering the best service possible to the Calaveras community. And I remember, during the economic downturn, she was pretty relentless on hammering us, brought in all the troops with her. Whereas Maury has been an enthusiastic supporter of library fundraisers, events, including standing in Murphy's Creek to catch the winning ducks in the duck race, running the Copperopolis Run, serving on the Trivia Bee Committee, manning craft booths and children's summer reading events, and promoting library services at community events. And whereas Maury was recognized by the California Library Literacy Services for outstanding support of the state literacy program. And therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors, County of Calaveras, this 22nd day of December 2015, do hereby honor and recognize Maury Elstra for her 18 years of service and express her appreciation to Maury for her loyalty to the County of Calaveras, and wish her much happiness as she begins this new chapter in life. May I have
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Supervisor Fonte,
Second.
second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm not going to finish that until I have public comments. Any public comments?
I have a comment. I am on the Library Commission. I have served there for many years. We are going to miss Maury so much, but we appreciate every little ounce of work and energy that she has put into making our library one of the greatest libraries that we could ever have. Thank you, Maury.
Good morning, I'm Sheila Neal. I'm a director with the Resource Connection, and I'm also on the Library Commission. Want to publicly thank Maury for all of her service, known her for many years. You've been outstanding, and we're going to miss you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jack Kuhn. I'm the chairman of the Library Commission, and I would like to add our appreciation for all that Maury has done to keep the libraries open during very difficult economic times. And words cannot express how much we are going to miss both Maury and her untiring efforts to keep the libraries open. Thank you.
I'm Sally Tuttle. I am also on the Library Commission, and Maury has been terrific.
I'm Pat Ross. I'm the program coordinator for literacy at the library. And I think I'm the only employee here, so I get to say all the good stuff about her from that point of view. She is a tireless leader. She's quiet, and she leads by example. She's made all of us very proud of her through all these years, her tenaciousness to keep those libraries open, and her support of her employees. Thank you, Maury.
I'm Bob Dean. I'm also a member of the Library Commission, but I'm also president of the Friends of the Library. And thanks, Maury. It's been a real pleasure, believe me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, so I'll finish it. Oh, go ahead, Marty.
Marty Crane, it just occurred to me that we have had so much fun for, I think, 18 years now, putting on the melodrama in Valley Springs to support the library. And all because we were inspired regularly by you. So thank you, Maury.
So I'm going to present this, Maureen, now. This is a proclamation from the supervisors. So we said all in favor, all of us said
Aye.
aye. 5-0, thank you.
So I think you're going to witness a first here, because I'm not here to whine or to beg, but I'm here to say thanks for the memories. 37 years ago, when I started my career in Cincinnati, Ohio, I never dreamed that I would be retiring from a small rural library in California. The Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County is an amazing library system, oozing with resources and winning awards. But work there is very specialized. You don't have the opportunity to do collection development and assist the library users and prepare a full budget and work with friends of the library and commissioners and apply for grants and train new volunteers and plead with the Board of Supervisors and chase a goat through the library. All in one job and maybe all in one day. The variety has always been part of the rural library experience that I find very appealing. How do I sum up the past 17 years of my career? It's brought back some memories and some themes. My first theme is our wonderful library buildings. How fortunate I was to come to Calaveras and begin work in a new building that was only a few years old. What a joy this was for the first time in my career to actually work in an office that was not an add-on porch or the basement of a building. The irony is that once I left those two locations in Mariposa and Eureka, they got beautiful new buildings. So perhaps my departure here could translate into a few new branch libraries. One of my first tasks arriving in Calaveras was to work with Emilio Prunetti and Ida Long, along with members of the newly formed McCollum Hill Friends of the Library. Their vision was to transform an old building with a very interesting history and architectural features into a library. To be honest, it took a little coaxing for me to see the jewel that would come out of this renovation. And looking back at the files, I found this remembrance from Emilio. Dear Maury, as you may recall, on the workday of the 25th at our library, I remarked that we feel our library is especially unique among the branch libraries, and more or less jokingly agreed that you would agree. Of course, the fact is, as you said, all of them are unique in their own way. Emilio went on to say, although I accept that we do not have a corner on uniqueness, we cannot help but feel there is something very special about our library. And that is the sentiment I hear repeatedly. We have 8 wonderful libraries, and each library is special and unique to our communities. Not only did I get to be present for the birth of the McCollum Hill Library, but I was also there for the creation of a branch in Copperopolis. Certainly our hero in Copper was Bill Albee, who worked tirelessly and made so many good things happen for the Copper Library. The Copper Library is now in its 4th location since its opening many years ago, and I hope that one day we have a new permanent building for them. You can't miss when you have a fireplace. The unique feature brings great appeal to the Arnold Library, especially when there's a chill in the air. And one of my fond memories of Arnold location will always be the report of a big brown bear snacking in the parking lot. When I arrived in Calaveras, the Murphy's Library was just a few years old, and the upstairs of the building was unfinished. Over the past 17 years, the upstairs has been transformed through hard work, community donations, and duck races. In Angels Camp, we have been in 2 different locations over the past years. good storefront facilities that were made warm and welcoming by Diana Lewis, June Perry, and Patty Smalling. In the library community, there are differing opinions about the success of joint-use libraries. We are fortunate in Valley Springs to have a success story. From our initial shared space of cramped 1,000 square feet to the current facility of over 3,500 square feet, this has been a model of cooperation. It's a welcoming space. The West Point community has not experienced a brand new library or even a warm, welcoming storefront. We hope all that changes in our new location at the West Point Elementary School. And I'm very excited that one of my final projects is the new joint-use library. Great buildings provide strong foundation for library services. The good news is people are still reading. They are reading for entertainment, relaxation, and to learn. That brings us to the theme of books and reading. Certainly one of the greatest pleasures over the years has been selecting books and materials that meet the needs and interests of our users. Two publishing phenomena have impacted libraries in my early years here. One of them was the launch of Oprah's Book Club, which brought attention and bestseller status to many titles that would have seen limited readership. The other was the 1997 launch of the Harry Potter series, which revived reading, created new readers, and new excitement about books. Another significant impact on reading during my years here has been Amazon. Even though we use a different vendor to buy our books, even though we want folks to borrow and not purchase, Amazon has been a significant influence in the reading world. They have filled in the gap of Reader's Advisory. What else might we read? What have others thought about a title? This type of feedback has always been helpful in collection development. While our readers were at home curling up with a book, I was rushing through the pages of review journals to find recommendations from other librarians. When I came here 17 years ago, I would not have dreamed we would be adding titles such as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter or Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I could not have predicted new genres such as urban fiction, steampunk, manga, graphic novels, dark fantasy, cyberpunk. And who would have guessed that Harper Lee would have had another bestseller besides To Kill a Mockingbird? And speaking of birds, you cannot go wrong with chicken books. Our books on raising chickens have over 898 circulations. Over the past 17 years, I have handled more than 100,000 book donations. These have been essential to growing our collection, and many of these donations went to the book sale room, where they have funneled valuable dollars back to purchase books. One of the wonderful things about Calaveras County is the number of book groups we have in our communities. We now have 2 that are library connected, but most are out in our communities and have been meeting for years. The library system has always been here to help with supplying titles. Several years ago, we implemented Book Club in a Bag to help supply additional copies for discussion groups. Publishing a book has gotten easier over the years, and we have many Calaveras residents who have authored a book. I love looking at our Calaveras author wall and seeing the large number and variety of titles reflected there. Local history, biographies, books for children and young adults, topics such as cartoons and fishing, poetry, and so much more. Accessing the book collection has always been a treasure hunt for many of our users. As you know, we use the Dewey Decimal System in the library to find our books. But one book in our collection is a geocached book, placed in its location many years ago to be part of the geocacher's world. Geocachers use GPS to navigate locations, and with clues, the treasure hunt begins. I will not reveal the name of the book or its location, but it has been discovered by dozens of geocachers. Geocaching a book That never came up in library school. Things have certainly changed since I became a librarian 37 years ago, which brings me to the theme of change. During my tenure, we have abandoned formats such as LP recordings and cassette tapes, moved from books on audio cassette to CD to downloads. We are gradually downsizing our video collections as we transition to DVD format and online downloads. 17 years ago, at a Friendsville Library annual dinner, I spoke about the library of the future and thought that ebooks were just around the corner. It must have been a really large corner, but today we have all the tools and devices to enjoy a paperless ebook. I am so glad that as I retire, the accessibility of ebooks for our patrons has come to fruition. Technology continues to be part of change, and our automated circulation system has advanced from archaic .s and .c commands to user-friendly interfaces. The automated circulation system makes it easy to browse from the comfort of your home. What a change from the old catalog card days. In the old days when you walked into the library, you had to know the exact start of the title, the exact spelling of the author's name, or the subject that the cataloger put the book under. Today, everything is much more accessible, and we can provide so much more help to our users. Several months ago, I was contacted about a possible donation of a 3D printer for the library. Libraries across the country are becoming maker spaces, and this was a possible way for us to join in on that. But change does not always occur quickly. Before accepting such a donation, we had questions. What consumables are needed? What are the costs of the consumables? Who would fund that? What liability issues would we face with the products that could be produced? 3D printers can produce knives and guns. What about copyright issues? What are the health implications of a device that heats thermoplastic feedstock? How long does it take to make something from the printer? What policies would we follow to see who gets to use it? Change comes with questions, and we were not ready. Alas, the potential donor of the 3D printer was one of the victims who died in the Butte fire. Part of the change we have experienced in the library system has not been good. Our county support has shrunk, while the cost to maintain our operations has not been reduced. We have stretched our minds, stretched our dollars, and stretched ourselves to lessen the impact on our users. We've been creative, done without, and looked at things differently. Calaveras County can be proud of the library system we have cobbled together with limited resources. So I've talked about buildings, books, and change, and my final theme is that of joy and happiness. What were some of the things that brought me joy over the past 18 years? What were the rewards I found working here in Calaveras? First of all, it has been the wonderful people I have worked with. The staff, the volunteers, the friends, and the commissioners. They have brought an energy and dedication, and it has been my pleasure to be part of that. Our staff work limited hours and are not truly financially compensated for their efforts. They work hard, and many sneak in additional time because they care so much. Our volunteers are bright and enthusiastic and make a huge difference in the level of service we can offer. The library commissioners care so much about the library system and how to overcome our problems and obstacles. During my 17 years here, we were fortunate enough to see a support group formed for each branch location. They have donated thousands of hours to raise awareness and provide financial support for our libraries. We may be a small county library system, but our Friends of the Library groups are more active, more supportive, and more involved than elsewhere. I have enjoyed the dinners, rummage sales, book sales, secret garden parties, fashion shows, and home tours. I have been wowed by the melodramas and hours of volunteer time that have made these such fantastic events. I have been amazed by each time I attended Trivia Bee, by the challenge of the questions, the things I did not know, and the knowledge that so many people do have. I've made it to the finish line at the Memorial Run in Copper, and I've been at the finish line in the creek at Murphy's to help retrieve the winning ducks in the duck race. And here are a few more small snapshots of other joys I will take away from my years here at Calaveras. Having Lynn Cuneo there to answer my tech questions and cataloging questions and circulation questions and what-if questions. Hearing the weekly Storytime song, "Hello everybody, yes indeed, sing children sing." Watching the preschoolers complete their small art project each week. Receiving a very large donation each year from an anonymous donor simply for the sole purpose of adding mysteries to the library collection. Partnering with Rotary Club of Calaveras to purchase library books in honor of their guest speakers. Attending the annual dinner the women of the Moose and Arnold put on to support the library. Listening to Marta Johnson sing "What a Wonderful World" at the dedication of the Garden of Friends at the San Andreas Library. Checking out books to the family that loads up 15 books per library card times 4 people each time they visit the library. Having one of our tutors featured on the video celebrating the State Library Service's 30th anniversary. She had once reached a very low point in her life and overcame significant obstacles. She is now instilling hope and knowledge to be an inspiration to us all. Flipping through the Donald Trump book, Think Like a Millionaire, that did not sell in the book sale room and was being reassigned to the free table and finding $10 inside. Using my college French to speak with a French couple that was passing through and explaining to them that they could go to a bed and breakfast, but pas de fumée, no smoking. Watching our Teens for Tech assist library users with their questions about tablets and smartphones. Having everyone show up and voice support at county budget meetings. Watching a young boy at one of our book sales absolutely engrossed in a book on the patio, oblivious to everything else. Seeing one of our adult tutoring students succeed in her studies to learn math, and she is now on the pathway to becoming a registered nurse. Getting new book recommendations from Chris and Murphy's, and then seeing a long waiting list for those titles. Watching one of our older adults look up books in the online catalog. I tried for 14 years to offer to teach him to do that, and he finally took advantage of 2 of our adult tutors. Having library users poke their head into my office and ask if I could help them find a book, you betcha. Training new volunteers and seeing them go on to become awesome branch library assistants. Having every book in the San Andreas Library cleaned by the Dirty Book Club. And no career would be complete without chasing a goat through the library. I'm extremely grateful for the role that everyone has played in making this a better library system. We've been in survival mode for so many years. As I leave, I hope that we have turned the corner. I hope that your new leader will not face fiscal challenges, but challenges to bring more programs, more staff, more services, more open hours. It has been my pleasure to work with all of you. Thank you.
It's a good way to start the day. Okay, so we're going to move on to public comment. Public comment is any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the board of supervisors. If the public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the regular agenda. If the public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued at the conclusion of the consent agenda in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of the comments to be heard. So this public comment is for whatever is not on our agenda. Okay. And public comment today will be for 3 minutes.
Hi, Bob Dean. I'm a resident of Jesus Maria Road. First of all, before I go to the issue that I want to bring to your attention, I want to thank you for your past support and hopefully future support of the library system in Calaveras County. It's one of the crown jewels in your crown. The issue that I want to bring to your attention is the issue of the protection of trees in the Butte Fire area. One of the things that I've noticed has been going on is that there's a lot of trees being cut that are alive. Some of these trees were marked with a red dot within 2 or 3 days of the initial fire, and it's been over 3 months now since they were earmarked as hazardous trees, and sufficient time has passed to be able to recognize the fact that some of these trees are not dying, they're very much alive, and given the fact that we have lost so many trees in the Butte Fire, if we have something that we can sustain, maintain, and allow to survive, I think it's critical that we do that. Now, there's no blame here. Basically what happened was during the fire, the PG&E crews had to go around and identify trees that they thought would be a hazard to their electric lines. And so they went and they marked a lot of these trees with red dots. Unfortunately, you couldn't even see the tops of the trees because of the smoke. But the fact nonetheless remains that the trunks were burned, they looked like they were finished, and they had to be identified. Well, there's been an opportunity since then to do some reevaluation, and unfortunately that hasn't taken place. And I would ask the board, either through discussions with PG&E and their experts, and/or through one of your departments, to begin this reassessment so that we can salvage the trees that we need to salvage. It was brought to my attention because 2 good pine trees were cut on my property before I knew that they were being cut. And I actually managed to save 100-foot tree because there was sufficient life left in it. But one of the problems we're faced with is a lot of the people out there doing this debris and hazardous tree removal are not from this area. They don't understand our flora. The guys that were cutting along the PG&E easement that goes through my property were from North Carolina and Kentucky. This is what they do. They follow the hazards. You know, it's an income for them. Unfortunately for us, it's a reminder that these kinds of things happen. But they don't know. They don't know the trees, and as a consequence, things are being cut that shouldn't be cut. And I would ask you to go to PG&E, ask them to reevaluate and reassess some of the decisions that they made with regard to hazardous trees, so we can save at least what we've got. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. Just a reminder, we do have a Butte Fire update later on the agenda, so there'll be ample time to discuss some of these issues. Okay.
Hi, good morning. I'm Susan Long, and I'm a realtor in Calaveras County. I've been here for over 50 years. I have some issues that I wanted just to pass out today just on regarding code compliance. I've been buying houses at the trustee sale for 7 years. The houses have been in pretty poor condition. We've gone in and refurbished them the best we can. We've got tenants back into the houses that we're living in that were, went into foreclosure. We've resold some. And we've bought, probably between Amador and Calaveras County, we've bought about 300 homes in the last 7 years. So people that couldn't afford a home before, we bring them up to USDA FHA standards, and, you know, the first-time home buyers. We bought a house on Baldwin, 7615 Baldwin, on July 10th, and the house was boarded up. And there were squatters inside, and I could not understand why the house was boarded up. There was no windows broken. The squatters went in the house anyway, and to me, they were hidden behind the plywood. So I'd like to just pass out a couple of things that you can read later regarding this issue. I asked for a breakdown on this house. You guys approved a $7,000 lien on the property. When we go to the trustee sale, we look at the taxes and we do talk to code compliance. Nobody ever told us that there was a $7,000 lien. I've asked for a breakdown on this property, and I am not getting no response at all regarding this. One of the dates they had was on July 19th, was a Sunday on this breakdown they sent me, and this was a Sunday, which, you know, code compliance doesn't go to the houses on Sundays. We purchased the house on July 10th. We had a trash out done on the 13th and the 14th of July, and the house was cleaned up. It has been refurbished and stuff since then. Here's a copy of the letters to the code compliance and to the administrator. And here's the before and after showing that there was no windows broken on the property.
30 seconds.
Okay. During code compliance, boarding up the houses, they used extensive screws on this house. They've damaged the windows by putting the screws into the metal, which cracked the windows, cracked the frames, and they actually did more damage than the squatters did by going into the house. The house had very little damage by the squatters, so I just wanted to show you these screws that they used on this house. They put them in so much, they stripped them, that we had to dig them out of the stucco. So I just wanted to turn that over to you guys. If you could review those, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas.
On a lighter note, I'm the media coordinator for a group down in Copperopolis called the Copper Run, which is to support the Friends of the Library and the Copperopolis Firemen's Association and the Copperopolis Elementary School. And this is the 24th annual Copper Run, which will be taking place on the 23rd of January at Black Crate Park. For anyone that's interested, we do have a Facebook page. We are online, and we have done a media blast. We will do another one again just before it. So if you're interested at all, please don't hesitate to contact anyone. Come out and join the fun. And we do have a great turnout every year, so there is a lot of support from the various counties that come together for this run every year. So we appreciate your interest in it and anything you can do to help support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bonnie Newman. I'm from Double Springs. And Santa came earlier this morning, and he brought gifts for everyone. And I'm noticing some of us got pieces of candy and some of us got pieces of coal. And I noted that all the girls got candy and all the boys got coal. It kind of reminds me of sugar and spice and everything nice. That's what little girls are made of, and snakes and snails and puppy dog tails. That's what little boys are made of. I'm okay with that. And in fact, Santa left some extra ones up here too. So anyone that feels the need to get a little treat, go ahead. At the end of the year, I try to say something nice, because you see me here complaining all the time. In fact, we come here week after week, month after month, and Sometimes we have to suffer through the rantings and ravings of all of us crackpots and wackos who feel compelled to come and expose our own special form of dementia to you. You're going to have to suffer through mine right now. As I listen to all of the problems and complaints that come before you, I try to take away all the fluff and all the trappings and come down to a core problem. And to me, it seems like at the basis of everything is the issue of overpopulation. We have too many people and not enough resources. The more crowding we have of the planet, the less resources will be available. Now, every once in a while, God or nature or just fate has a way of trying to balance what's wrong. Sometimes it's through a famine or disease or pestilence or even war. Looking back from my vantage of 70 years on this earth, I know that most wars, most killings, rapings, tortures, maimings are caused by religion, people fighting each other about whose God is better than the other God. That's pretty sad. I have limited time. I'd like to talk about overpopulation more, but there's always next year. One last message I'd like to leave everyone with. Feliz Navidad, calaveras. That means Merry Christmas, skulls. Skulls is another word for boneheads. Un año nuevo mejor para todos. A better new year for everyone. That's the hope and the message I'd like to leave with everyone. Peace, please. There's one last little piece of coal, and the name on it is Peter Race. So if Peter's here, Santa didn't forget you either. Thank you.
Okay, any more public comments?
My name is Patricia Grant. I live in Angels Camp. I care for a veteran that has Parkinson's disease. He has been growing marijuana to relieve his symptoms for the past several years legally, and I urge you to not make laws that are going to make it hard for him to grow it for himself.
Ma'am,
Not
this
for
is on our
sale.
agenda.
Oh, I thought it was. I'm sorry.
It's on our agenda. This is public comments
Oh, okay. Well, I thought that was what I was supposed to do.
during the agenda item.
Okay.
So, thank you. Any other public comments not related to our agenda? None? Okay. Let's move on to our regular agenda. Number 3, planning. And I see Gina here.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Gina.
Okay, so Gina Cathan, County Planning. If you folks recall, the last board hearing on the 8th, I brought before you several ag preserve contracts, one of which had a zoning amendment that inadvertently got left off the agenda, so that's what we're discussing today. So the contract for Beatty, Lawler, and Parker was approved by you at the last meeting. So the zoning amendment, the ordinance that you're considering today is a follow-up, if you will, to acknowledge the Williamson Act contract on those parcels. So the ordinance would actually amend 3 legal parcels, APN 20-009-038, 20-009-070, 20-009-039, for a total of 251.14 acres. And those would be rezoned from the current unclassified and general agriculture zoning to ag preserve to signify the Williamson Act contract that you approved at the last meeting.
Okay. Any public comments? Board comments?
Make a motion to approve?
Okay. So I have a motion by Supervisor Ponte to approve the zoning amendment 2015-061 from unclassified A160 general agriculture to 60 acre minimum parcel size and A1 general agriculture to AP agriculture preserve for the Beatty, Lawler, and Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Mr. Chair, I'm seeing some visual signs back here. I would ask that the board and all members use our microphones. Apparently, they can't hear in our foyer, and they're requesting that we speak loudly so they can hear.
Okay. Well, we can do that, but I can tell you that I can hear the foyer from here, so please try to keep it down so that we can hear in here. Otherwise, we'll have to at least close one door. It gets pretty loud out there. It starts echoing around in that big room, so thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing good.
Good. So this is agenda item number 4, Environmental Management Agency. Staff recommends the board adopt enclosed resolution adopting the revised on-site wastewater rules and regulations specific to the rebuild requirements for Volume 1, Chapter 5, D2C for Calaveras County.
Jason Bateser, Director of Calaveras County Environmental Health Department. Good morning, Board. The item before you is brought to you after staff and I looked at requirements for rebuild after a natural disaster, and specifically due to the Butte fire and the number of destroyed structures. And the rebuild requirements are for those, specifically in this case, those properties, structures where we do not have any records of the existing on-site wastewater treatment system. There's existing requirements in our rules and regulations. And the proposal here is to eliminate the requirement to perform soil profiles for 100% expansion area. And that would be if the system was to fail in the future, and only require the profile holes if they look to expand the existing system from what is on record with the county. So in essence, this will help facilitate the permit process in time. It'll save the applicant money and without compromising any risk to public health and or the environment. So it's something that we looked at, and there's checks and balances in place. If somebody was to increase their on-site septic disposal system in the future, we'd have to perform test holes. If the system failed, we'd perform test holes at that point in time. So we just feel that this is something that we can help with those people that were impacted, and will help facilitate the permit process for the rebuild. Any discussion or questions?
Okay.
Question. This is for replacing like disposal systems?
This is for replacing residential structures, and then the system that's there is required to be inspected. If it passes the inspection and the homeowner signs an indemnification form, there would be no other requirements.
So
in the past, they would have to also dig test holes for 100% expansion area. Okay. So what this requirement is doing, or what we're amending, is eliminating the test hole for the 100% expansion area for future disposal area, but the system still needs to be inspected for like residential rebuild.
So if an owner decided to build a larger residence, required a larger system, then this would not apply to that. It would be replacing the existing system that's on record. Correct?
Yeah, if let's say somebody had a 2-bedroom house and they went to a 3-bedroom, the existing system passed, then we would have to perform dig test holes for the addition of 1 bedroom. Could still potentially use the existing system if it passed, but we'd have to increase the capacity.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Yep. Any other questions?
I have a question. So just, for technical, this is a public hearing on this particular. So if we give approval today, does it automatically go into place, or is there a wait period for this?
This is This is a resolution, it is not an ordinance, so with resolutions, it would go into effect immediately. With an ordinance, if it were an ordinance, then it would go into effect 30 days later.
Okay. So that would further help people to move along and not have to wait for any kind of waiting period. Okay.
And this is something that we saw, it's been, brought to our attention, and we saw a way that we could, help the people impacted by the fire.
Thank you.
So what about current properties that are shown to be unpermitted, but, like some of the historical properties that had everything in place already and now it's gone?
So the requirements there, they still apply. So for us, the system has to be inspected by a third-party person, and they sign an indemnification form, whether it was permitted or not permitted.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm good with that one. Any public comments?
Good morning, Rosemary Watson from McCallum Hill. I just want to thank Jason and his staff for bringing this proposed resolution. It's gratifying to see that environmental health is looking for ways to facilitate rebuilding without burdening the residents with additional expense and testing. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other public comments? One of the things that I've been hearing a lot of is damage to some of the septics from trees being fall on them, or they've been run over, And so property owners are having a tough time with that issue because they know that they're going to have to repair that, but it may not have been their fault. So is there a way, when you inspect this, to be able to, how do we deal with that?
Well, I can tell you in one of our debris removal operations where something happened with the crews and there was damage done to the septic tank, and they're making the necessary efforts and applying for the permit to repair it. The documentation would have to be provided by the homeowner, between who damaged the property, whether it was, or the septic system, whether it was, and we've had this happen with wells too early on, where some of the wells were destroyed by the fire crews in fighting the fire. So in that case, they were in contact with, those property owners were in contact with CAL FIRE for repair of those wells. So I would advise the property owners, if they notice damage to the septic disposal system from work that's occurring on their property, from the number of different contractors out there, to contact the lead foreman for those crews and go through that avenue. And then if it requires permit, go through the permit process through our office.
So if they don't know who they are, they can come to you, and you could probably do a little research and find out who that is?
We could, but with the number of, we could go through the elimination if it was one of the debris removal crews or not. It's hard for us to keep track of who's on the individual property owners at any given time. So that's a little bit harder to do, whether it's debris removal operations, one of our crews out there versus AT&T, loggers, et cetera, who may be out there. What I would recommend to people is that, and also to contractors, before anybody goes on a private property, to contact our department to find out the location of the septic disposal system and or wells prior to commencing work there, so that way they know where things are located. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jason.
Yep.
So can I have a motion on this, please?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Wright, second by Supervisor Ponte. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason. Okay, number 5, item, regular agenda number 5, Sheriff's Office. Wait.
Good morning. Sergeant Whitney from the Sheriff's Department.
Approval contract between American Legion Ambulance Post 108 and the Calaveras County Sheriff's Office for Emergency Medical Dispatch Services in Calaveras County for the period of July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2020.
Yeah, it's just the renewal of the contract between the ambulance service providers. Actually, 5 and 6 are identical. Number 6 is for Ebbets Pass Fire. And it's just to, it actually increases the contract per call to the amount that's listed there on the bottom, $38.32 per incident.
Okay. Any public comments? Board comments?
Okay. Can you explain what this specifically is for?
What it's specifically for, the contract is for, our dispatch center is emergency medical dispatch as well. So the contract was between the Sheriff's Department and the 2 ambulance service providers to support our dispatch center dispatching the ambulances for emergency medical incidents. So both life-threatening and non-life-threatening medical aid responses.
For the Sheriff's Department? For the community at large?
Well, it's the calls come in from the community to the dispatch center, and then the dispatch center dispatches out the ambulances and the first responders. They contact CAL FIRE for fire dispatch, and then we actually dispatch the ambulances themselves.
Okay.
Okay. Any more comments from the board?
Comment, Sergeant, so this is a fee the Sheriff's Department charges the ambulance services?
Yes. Per
And
incident.
that's for dispatching the ambulance there to that scene?
It's for dispatch. It's
Okay.
for training the dispatchers. It's for the maintenance of the, what's called the MedNet radio system, which is just the medical radio system. It's not the Sheriff's Department radio system.
I understand.
And also for the software that our medical dispatchers have to use every time a medical call comes in. It's called ProQA. And it's the system that they have to go through to determine the response needs, and let's say it's a CPR call, and that gives them the line-by-line instructions.
Okay, so it's not the actual dispatching of the ambulance itself for that service provided by the ambulance company. I want to make sure that that's clear. This is just a Sheriff's Department dispatching fee, if you will. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do you charge a similar fee to the air ambulance companies?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do we have a contract with them at all?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure if there's a contract with the air ambulance company.
Okay.
Okay. Any more board comments? No? All right, can I have a motion, please?
You have public comment?
I asked. Did you? Okay.
Well, I so move, Chair.
Okay. Second. Got a motion by Supervisor Oliveira, second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Item 6. The items were broken up, Chair.
Yeah, they are broken up. Hey, come back up. I'm sorry. So we have number 6 now. We could probably just.
Yeah, number 6 is exactly the
Yeah.
same.
So could any of the public want to make comments on this? This is for, it was broken up between 5 and 6 on the agenda. Approve contract between Ebbets Pass Fire District and Calaveras County Sheriff's Office for emergency medical dispatch services in the period of July 1st, 2015 and June 30th, 2020. Any public comments on that? Board comments? Have a motion?
So move.
Second. I have a motion by Supervisor Oliveira, second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0 passes. And we have number 7, Sheriff. Approve a master services agreement between Securus?
Securus.
Okay, Securus. Secure Us.
There you go.
Got that one. Technologies and Calaveras County Sheriff's Office for inmate audio-video visitation.
Thank you. Good morning, Lieutenant Tim Sturm with the Sheriff's Office. The item is regarding a contract renewal with an addition of a new program. Securus has been the provider for visitation, both within the jail and phone calls since 2008. And what we have today is a proposal to renew that service for 5 years and additionally add a video visitation feature to the system. The video visitation currently exists, but only within the jail. It goes from an inmate downstairs to a visitor. This program would allow persons from their home to visit with an inmate. It is a fee-for-service program. And I did want to point out that the agenda item does indicate that there is no penalty for cancellation of the contract. However, there would be a prorated payback of the fees associated with the installation of the equipment. There is no county cost or department cost to this addition of this equipment.
So you said it was a pay-for-service though, right?
That's correct. And the fees are paid by the either the visitor or the inmate.
Okay. And
The inmate has money?
I'm sorry?
The inmate has money?
Well, the inmate can have money on their books, an account, so to speak.
Okay.
And whether they have money or not obviously depends on the individual. And if they didn't, then the fees would be paid by the visitor.
Okay.
We're not involved in the invoicing or?
No, the invoicing is done through the third party, and there's several options that a person can use to pay for this service, but no, the county's not involved in that.
so basically, if, it's probably like, a good analogy would be credit card video purchase, right? And so if they don't have, if they aren't able to do that, then it just doesn't happen. So the county isn't on the hook for that pay for, or per service?
That's correct. What would happen in that case is if a person wished to have a video visitation, they could come to the sheriff's department, to the jail, and conduct it from there. What this does is this saves the person the expense of the trip, and otherwise it is a free visit if a person does it on site. Telephone calls are still a charge as well.
Okay, Lieutenant, we're offering this service to our inmates, where they can visit folks via video at home or in the jail. What is the cost savings to the department with this system, or is there any cost savings?
Well, there is a cost savings. Currently, our video visitation does require some movement of inmates. We still have the obligation to review and monitor the visits for security of the facility to make sure that there's no contraband that's being discussed to be entered in the facility, or there's no any other illegal activities discussed. By way of this system, a person can, an inmate can register, a visitor can register on the website, become approved to use the visitation, and then conduct a visitation. So there is less staff time involved because it does become, essentially it's one less person at the counter.
And let's address security on this. Obviously, there's security measures in place. Is there any type of communication? Is this system monitored by any correctional officers or anything? Or is it just a private system used by the inmate and their folks?
If the inmate was engaged in a privileged communication with clergy, attorney, or medical, then there would be no monitoring, and those numbers would be blocked so that there is no ability for staff to monitor that. Otherwise, staff would be monitoring this. It can be done from essentially any desktop computer within the facility. The idea would be that most likely the sound would be at a low level so that they can complete other duties while this is playing in the background. It'd be available for approximately 12 hours a day, and obviously the jail facility is staffed 24 hours a day.
Okay, now here comes the golden question. What's the downside of this program, Lieutenant?
Well, the downside of the program is that the FCC is currently discussing putting a cap on the rate that a third party can charge an inmate in the county jail. So regardless of what action is taken today, Calaveras County does generate some revenue from the phone calls. There could potentially be a decrease in revenue to the inmate welfare fund as a result of some law changes. My understanding is that there's appeals and that's all going to go through, but it could, or potentially we could have a decrease in revenue, but the action taken today doesn't change that.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Any public comments? No? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board.
I'll move, accept.
I second the motion.
All right, so we have a motion by Supervisor Olivera, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
1 no. Okay. Number 8 on our regular agenda is Public Works. And this is a review the Calaveras Transit fiscal year 2014-15 year-end performance report.
Jeff Grovitz, Public Works Director, Calaveras County. Thank you and happy holidays. This is a presentation of the transit report for fiscal year 2014 through 2015. And in general, there's good news and there's bad news. I'll start with the bad news. Our ridership is down by a fairly significant amount. I don't really have an idea as to cause on that. Haven't been around long enough. But in terms of our operations, our fuel costs, our maintenance costs, and our overall budget, we are down as well. So that's good news, which means that the measurements of our performance, 2 measurements of our performance being fare box recovery and cost per vehicle service hour, fare box recovery has gone up, and it now currently meets the minimum requirements that have been defined by both the Board of Supervisors and the CCOG board as a performance measure, and our cost per vehicle service hour has gone down relatively significantly. And we believe that's due to the fact that we are learning quite well how to operate a transit system within the budgets that we've been given. I'm going to let our transit manager get up and talk a little bit more about the details of this current report, but I did want to let you know that we are on the verge of bringing to you the draft short-range transit plan, upon which we will want the Board of Supervisors to make findings in terms of adopting or rejecting recommendations for our operations as we move into the near future. And we expect to bring that presentation to you in January, and that the COG board will be voting on it in February for implementation. So this is a piece of the information that needs to be considered when evaluating recommendations of the short-range transit plan. So I'll let Deborah Mullen take the stand.
Good morning. Mr. Krovitz did cover most of the salient points. The report that I passed out and we'll have here at the podium for to be available has some adjustments in the original board packet. Just a little change in the number of vehicle service miles and vehicle service hours, and with the resulting actual improvements over the overall numbers on that. So we are approaching our goals. As Mr. Krovitz said, ridership is down, so we will be working that angle as much as we can with outreach and service adjustments that better meet the needs of the community. And those service alternatives will be put forth in the short-range transit plan. One of the shining lights of this report I just wanted to point out is the vehicle maintenance is so far reduced. I think it's 37% less than prior year. Hats off to our Equipment Service Center, and our mechanics doing a good job on that. I think we'll see even more improvement as their expertise grows, and we increase the fleet with new buses replacing the old beat-up ones. Board has any questions? I'd be happy to. Right.
Question. 37% reduction in maintenance costs?
Yes, sir.
That reflects new units put in service and removal of the older units? Is that?
Not so much. These numbers started to shift prior to the new buses coming. We just got 2 last week that have, or 2 weeks ago, that haven't been put into service yet, and 2 the year before, and actually some of the new ones cost some. We had some issues that we had to resolve going back and forth with those. So no, I expect to see more improvements, benefits from the newer fleet. Part of it is, there's a bit of chance, something big blows one year, it's going to be expensive, and it doesn't necessarily reflect the day-to-day maintenance, preventive maintenance.
Could you explain to me how we attribute the 37% decrease in maintenance? In other words, we didn't have any big unit components fail, like engines, transmissions,
That's right,
stuff like that.
and we've just gained efficiencies in the shop. And, it's been a couple years since maintenance came to the county's maintenance yard. Prior to that, it was maintained by the operator, and when those and there wasn't sufficient oversight to their mechanics.
Okay.
So when we got the fleet, there was a lot to do with it.
So we took over the maintenance ourselves?
We took over, yes.
Okay.
Any other board comments, questions?
Deb, I just have a question in general about the advertising. How is that going on the buses?
The advertising revenue is up. We have space. Anybody here would like to reserve some bus space? And we have one beautiful new bus going to be starting the intercity service, the Delta Gold Line to Stockton. Actually, I have some flyers. And we do have advertising space available on that bus, all of it. So we're doing some sales calls at this time.
And on the, when you talk about the special event ridership, do we just have the one special event?
No, there are 4, one which didn't take place this year, but there's the Frog Jump, the Gold Rush Days. Let's see if I don't have a schedule with me. There are 4 that we have published in our schedule, so those are trips that are open to everyone, and because we can't do one-shot deal charter service.
Right. So does that, I know there's a bus that goes to Bear Valley. Is that part of the special event, or how is that?
We don't have a bus to Bear Valley at this time.
You don't?
No, but we're going to be well, yeah.
So last year there was no bus? No. Okay.
I think the year before, up to early on, they had one, and then there was no snow.
Yeah, so the bus was...
Nice, huh?
You
nice
probably
to know that in advance.
Could do a bus now, but, so the bus was 13-14, not 14-15 for the Bear Valley? Okay.
So we're going to be bringing a pilot program forward for Saturday service.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have one more question. I'm sorry for bringing this up, but I'm looking at the year-end performance by route charts, and I still see that we're at $72 plus operating cost per passenger in Route 2 compared to the other routes. I know we experienced this problem last year.
Right, and that's one of the things we're going to address in the short-range transit plan. There are other ways to serve the communities besides running a full-size bus. And what happened, too, is that we cut service back to save money, but what that did was eliminate the benefit of the service to begin with. Instead of having 3 or 4 runs up to West Point a day, it was cut back to 1 so early in the morning and late in the day that there was no, it just didn't fit into anyone's needs. So we have vans now, and I think there's a way that we can reduce the operating costs and still serve that area.
Yeah, with all due respect to Supervisor Wright, that's his district. When comparing that to the other routes, that's a pretty significant
The subsidy is
cost.
very
I
high.
know we experienced this problem last year. Do we have any outside-the-box thinking, or what are some of the ways we're looking at?
I think there's a number of alternatives put forward in the short-range transit plan, kind of a demand response with the vans is one that comes to mind. You know, if there were a taxi service that we could do a voucher, or, you know, there are things, but I'm not certain just now what form it will take. But yes, outside the box.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to continue, to provide service. It is part of the county. It's some of the people in the greatest need of public transportation, even though recognizing the fact that maybe the normal mass transit system isn't going to work because it's not mass. There's not a mass of people up there, but we have to make sure that there's opportunities for folks, and maybe even looking into how we can tie more into Amador County. Because what happens once you get up in West Point, even on Highway 26 corridor, from basically Glencoe all the way up to West Point, Road Flat, Wilseyville, almost everybody, myself included, we either go down 26 and go to Moke Hill and then Jackson, or go over the hill through Pioneer and Pine Grove and shop on the other side of the river, because that's where it's just easier to get to. So there might be some way of communicating and networking with the Amador corridor. So even if the people aren't coming down here to San Andreas per se, or to the rest of the county, they have access to services over in Amador County. And I know it's kind of hard to wrap our head around that we want to have people going to Amador County, but they're going there already. So I think we're helping our citizens by having better inter-county service up in that part of the county. We have a good one on the route running over to Jackson right now on 49, but there's a lot of people up there that go over to Amador County. I think we need to really look at expanding that. Maybe we can even tie into the Rancheria more. There's a lot of activity there too. So maybe that's a discussion to have.
And we do go to the Amador Transit in Sutter Creek. That was mentioned that we that we should, but we actually do.
Yes, and and that's what I'm saying on the 49 corridor. I think you've done a really good job of making those connections. Just looking at the ridership, but I do think that there's a lot of people, thousands of people that are up there going over to Amador, and we could definitely help with that.
I think it would serve us well to do a survey and really get tuned into what people want in what areas, because the survey that was done for the short-range transit plan took place in April of 14. It was
and the thing is that talking more with folks over in Amador County about what they're seeing too, and connecting with the Rancheria, because that way you're going to talk to people that are coming over, and the demographic is folks that we are going to be trying to reach with public transit. So it's kind of like, instead of going up to West Point and trying to find people up there to do the survey, it might actually be easier to talk to some of the folks in Amador to find those people to get the survey completed, because it is a challenge to do outreach there. Sarah, is that out of the box?
That's out of the box.
I would agree, and your assessment is so true. I mean, you could stand in line, it cost you less, and probably get a lot of information from Calaveras County folks in Jackson. And I know that, COG heard of the short-range plan, and that's coming before our board in the early part of next year, and that's an opportunity, because at that point, it's taking a look at fixed routes and dial-a-rides and some regional transportation opportunities, both with Amador County and Tuolumne County. And so I think that kind of out-of-the-box ways of thinking and ideas will be coming forth.
Plus, these results do not reflect the new vans that you've bought yet, et cetera, so she actually has instituted procedures, but we're not looking at them yet, and I guess that's why
So the
I'm giving them a pass.
numbers aren't in this report? Oh,
No.
okay.
Okay, yeah, I knew we had discussed that.
Nor is the Gold Line service, this Stockton.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, these results are based on how it was before.
Okay. That's good, thanks.
So, when, Chris talks about transporting people into Amador County, I want to make sure that if we're going to take that route, that we talk to Amador Transit and the folks over in Amador to try to get them to pay for part of this, because we're definitely sending them our dollars. And I think that we talked about that on COG before, but I have a hard time just shipping people, paying with our tax dollars here, and ship people to another county to spend their money there without some kind of a return off of it. And secondly, I'd like to commend also your maintenance shop, because that 37% reduction was with the old equipment. And there's a lot of new laws out for maintenance and that sort of thing, and they're required to do certain, follow certain procedure. And it shows to me that they've made much improvement over a couple of years ago when I was actually on COG, when the cost was way higher. So thank you to your maintenance crews and the efficiencies that they've created over there for that. I appreciate that.
I'll let them know.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Okay. Any other questions by the board? Okay. Yes. Thank you.
I think you guys are talking about something, I see these vans, I don't see anybody riding in them. And I think that if you're going to, you're going to pay our system to haul people over to a different county, that has to be the goofiest thing in the world. If you want to get somebody, if you want somebody to take them over there, reverse this. Let's have Amador County send somebody over here to pick them up. This is insane. And you must be counting, or somebody must be counting those buses running around here much differently than I do. I see them, and they have these $175,000 bus with one person or no person in it. I don't think that you could, I guarantee you, if you were to take the money that you're expending right now and you just provided taxi service, you'd have to be cheaper than what you're doing right now. You're spending a ton of money for very little profit, I'll tell you that. So I'd like to see that whoever the supervisor that's saying that we ought to haul people over to Amador, we ought to have his head examined. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. I mean, and I think that as a county, and when I was running for supervisor, the idea that like the district boundaries, for instance, are the end of the world. After District 2, where that line draws, whoop, you go off into the abyss. Dragons live here, and the same thing over in Amador County. Like that's the end of the world if we go over to Amador County. But the realization is it's an artificial boundary, and we're all part of the same community in the West Point area. And so there are some economic concerns there, obviously with tax base and taxes. So what you want is more regional cooperation with Amador County. So if there is some of the problem of revenue going over there and we're helping people to go over there, then we develop a tax sharing program. So we end up getting the benefits and sharing the benefits for both Amador and Calaveras, recognizing that we are part of the same community with a boundary line that's artificial in between the counties. And that takes a little bit of thinking outside of what you might used to think of as far as a county government and an entity. And I know that's progressive thinking, and so it's not going to be for a lot of people, but I think it's just important that we start to realize that this is the county boundaries extend far beyond, the line there, the community boundaries, beyond the line of the county boundaries. And we do need to start thinking that way in order to really make our county better, especially, when you have the lines in the border towns like West Point.
The other thing is Columbia College just opened up a campus up in Vallecito, and that, we're going to probably get some need for that. That's within our county. Instead of going to Columbia, in many cases, for the classes, they may just be able to go to Vallecito, which is within our county, and we're hopeful that is going to. That's going to take off because that'll keep people here as well, and we appreciate that. So thanks to Columbia for doing that. Okay, any other questions, comments? Comments from the public? From the board? Thank you, Mr. Krovitz. Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 10.
Number 9.
Sorry, 9. Got ahead of myself there. Approve the acceptance of a grant in the amount of $150,000 for the Golden State Financial Authority to direct financial assistance for temporary housing and shelter to individuals and families displaced as a result of the Butte fire, and authorize the county administrative officer to sign an attached agreement for residents emergency disaster assistance program and approve the attached budget adjustment by a 4/5 vote of the board. And Shirley.
Thank you, Chair Edson. As I had mentioned in some of the previous Butte Fire updates, I had been in contact with RCRC regarding the possible grant of $150,000. It's actually through the Golden State Finance Authority, which is a JPA, a Joint Powers Authority, that serves 33 rural county members in California and additional associate county and city members. And they were looking for a way to develop a grant to assist individuals and families impacted by the Butte fire. I have been in contact off and on through RCRC regarding this, and they finally got me the agreement, and they wanted to make it as flexible as possible to use of the fundings to provide that assistance to families and individuals. These are funds that won't supplant any assistance they receive through the FEMA Individual Assistance Program, but will more or less supplement them. And they can be helped with to provide safe and sanitary interim housing and or shelter, whether that's people that are running out of the money they're receiving through their insurance company for temporary housing or rentals, or those families that are still needing assistance in that regard. And one of the questions I asked them, I said, well, how flexible is this? We have people that may be on their property in campers or trailers, and they don't have the money to fix the wellhead or the septic system. Can we use it for that? And they said, by all means, that would fall under the safe and sanitary. So they're trying to give us as much flexibility as possible. They wanted to get this on before the end of the calendar year so they could issue the check for $150,000 to the county, and then the county can work through our Butte Fire Incident Command. We can work through with Calaveras Recovers. We can work through the Health and Human Services Agency to determine how we can identify the individuals and families that would need these services and then provide the money from them. Along with this is a budget adjustment for the increased revenue of $150,000 into the Butte Fire budget, and a line item for the appropriations. And of course, that budget adjustment, since it's outside of the normal budget process, would take a 4/5 vote of the board.
Can you explain what RCRC is, please?
RCRC is the Rural County Representatives of California. It's a group that of representatives from the county's Board of Supervisor members sit on it, I believe. Supervisor Edson, you're the representative for our county on the RCRC board. And they lobby and support those bills and legislation that will help rural counties. They do a lot of work looking at the different legislations and make recommendations whether or not to support or be against it as to how it affects rural counties. They also have a number of programs they have to assist rural counties.
Okay. Any public comments on this? No public comments on this? Really? Go ahead.
I have a question. Couple of questions. You mentioned that you would be working through some sort of a local group. I'm wondering what the process of that is and how long that might take and when the monies might be available, and will you have an application?
And quite frankly, we're waiting for the agreement to be signed, and we will go through, we have an incident command structure in place, and we will be working with them and reaching out to Calaveras Recovers. Obviously, we have a year to expend the funds, so we want the process to be as simple and easy and quick as possible. And we will get that information out through our public information officers and through social media and what have you. And hopefully that will occur within the first couple of weeks of January.
Calaveras Recovers has their own processes, one of which is the way they prioritize based on FEMA or not FEMA applications having been made. Will this fund be following their rules or its own rules to be administered by Calaveras Recovers?
We will be working out those details. Literally, we got the information and the agreement last week from through RCRC, through the Golden State. So we have not worked out that level of details. Obviously, we'll reach out to Calaveras Recovers to see what their processes are, whether it would be easier to work through them or to work through another method. And as I say, our hope is we want to do this as quickly and easily as possible to assist those individuals and families. So we'll try and determine what is the most expeditious way to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Rosemary Wilson again. I was just wondering, is this an additional 150,000? I think I heard, and I wanted some clarification, Shirley, you mentioned that because the 150,000 was coming in, so the county may not need to spend the 150 that was already somehow allocated. I wasn't sure if I misunderstood that.
Actually, what it is RCRC, the Golden State Authority, wants to issue the county a check for $150,000 because we have neither the revenue or the appropriation included in the current budget. There's a budget adjustments to record the $150,000 revenue that's coming in and appropriations that will allow the county to spend that $150,000 that we've received. So this is separate from any other funding or any other expenditure that has occurred as far as the Butte Fire goes. So we'll take the money in and then we will issue it out to assist the families as a separate entity.
Thank you for explaining that. I'm not altogether sure I understood it 100%, but anyway, thank you. And thank the RCRC for the 150K. One question seems my friends and I are asking of each other is how the monies are actually being used. We're hearing that there are various projects. There's Calaveras Recovers, there's this 150K. We've heard from the lady who previously spoke that one of the criteria that another organization is using is whether or not they individuals applied for FEMA. Maybe another would be if they had insurance. it seems that it would be nice for the likes of me who had the insurance, but and is doing okay, we're sort of hanging in there, to know how the money is actually, where the dollars are actually going to, which families, and for which, not independently which families, but how much is going for what sort of purpose. Thank you.
And I see, as part of the Butte Fire update that we do with the board on a regular basis, we can update the board on how those $150,000 funds are spent, that they went to X number of families for rent or X number of families for improving the wellheads or septic systems.
Thank you.
We will, as that information becomes available, we'll report out to the board.
Thank you. Perhaps similarly for the donations of cash that were received immediately after the incident. I mean, there just seems like there's a lot of money that we hear has been donated. We're just not clear as to where it's all going.
The money, one of the things, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things that we don't have, if it goes to nonprofit organizations, we're not in control of that. So, we don't have that in our books.
That's correct.
We sure as heck nice to know what they're doing with it, though, wouldn't it?
Yes. But we can't punch up a spreadsheet and come up with that because it's not county money.
But those organizations should be able to, if asked. If they're 501(c)(3)s and that sort of thing, they do have, they have to report and they have to share. So that would be...
A number of us haven't really been contacted by anybody they might have seen us walking around and figured that we were doing okay. But we're just getting curious as to where it's going.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary.
Any other public comments? Board comments?
I want clarification. So RCRC through the GFSA is making a grant to Calaveras County for $150,000 with no payback requirements.
For the individuals and families that we put out there is no payback requirements. If we do not fully expend the $150,000, any funds that are left over at the end of the year will have to be returned to RCRC. So
I know that won't happen.
We'll do our best to spend every penny of it.
So then it comes to Calaveras County. So what I hear you saying, then when it comes to us, we're going to be looking at where to place that funding, which could be the program Calaveras Recovers, which is in the process of looking at long-term housing reconstruction or long-term needs in regards to reconstruction. There's also some short-term needs. So that's an avenue. That's not a given right now, but that's something the board will discuss once we have those monies.
Right. That's as you mentioned, Supervisor Ponte, that is an avenue, and we will look at what other avenues so that we can put together some criteria, and get that approved by the board, and get that information out to the county residents as quickly as possible. We really do want to make this quick and easy, but still make sure that we maintain that the funds are spent regarding the parameters of the grant. But that grant is pretty flexible.
So today's action is just say, yes, we'll take the money.
And authorize the CAO to sign the agreement.
All right.
Yes, we'll take the money and we'll spend it within a
Yes.
year, probably within a month.
Quite frankly, I had asked, when I spoke with the RCRC representative, I said, can this go on in January so that we could have all that criteria to bring to the board at the same time? And they said, no, we really want to issue the check before December 31st. And I said, okay, well, that's going to be a really quick board packet to get it on the 22nd.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Wright, second by Supervisor Ponte. I'd just like to say thank you to our administrative office for reaching out and looking for opportunities like this. We know that we have the need. There's a lot of it out there, that's for sure. So, but we also want to make sure that we get it into the right hands. So, can I have a motion, please?
Did that.
I'll second.
I'll do it again.
Okay, can I
There's a motion and there's a
You
second.
mean to ask
All
for
in
the
favor?
vote?
It's good to think about.
It's a cold medicine.
5-0. We'll take the money. All right. So, thank you. I'd like to take a 10-minute break, please.
Chris, mostly, I have some other.
All right, thank you. So just to let you know what the plan is here. We have the Butte Fire update right now. It shouldn't take too long for that. We'll go into the presentation for the marijuana ordinance. Probably have some public comments before lunch. We'll break for lunch, come back after lunch, and then continue on with public comments for the marijuana ordinance. Because there's some folks, I've been informed, there's other folks that thought it would be later on during the meeting. I want to make sure that they have an opportunity also to speak on it. Okay, so plan on being here for a while, I guess.
Mr. Chair, I have a question before we address.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we have clarity here, the agendized item is for cultivation of marijuana only, not for the use per se. That might help our speakers.
Well, when we get to the agenda item, we'll have county council go ahead and specify that. Yeah. Who wants to be first with Butte Fire? Brian? Okay. Mr. Moss.
Brian Moss, Administrative Office. Just real quickly, this is the biweekly or weekly update, depending on what our schedule is, of the Butte Fire. And the board would have received yesterday afternoon the latest EEI reports, essential elements of information, as submitted by several of the departments. Several departments are here today to speak to the board and give you an update, including the Calaveras County Commission on Aging. They will be also speaking today. There's a lot of representatives here as well. So just wanted to introduce the topic, so thank you.
Thanks.
If you don't mind, I'll proceed. Jason Bates, our Director of Environmental Health, and give an update on the debris removal process. I just first want to thank, I know many of the people here that may have lost structures during the fire, for their patience during the debris removal process as we continue to make strides. I know it's not as fast as we'd all like, but again, it's about, getting individual properties cleaned up, but also getting our community restored so we can fully rebuild. So with that being said, to date, the crews had to suspend work due to weather, and we're also planning on taking the holiday break off. They've been working 7 days a week, weather permitting. They'll commence work again January 4th. So up to this morning, we have 290 properties cleared of debris. 126 of those properties have been cleared with samples. We will be continuing to look at analytical results as they come in over the holiday break, even though debris removal teams will not be working. We do have a roadmap in our office that shows where the debris removal teams are and kind of the direction they're headed. So when people come in, they can. We've been working with GIS for that. We're also just been working with GIS and identifying properties that have not self-certified or signed the ROE. So if there's people that listen, hear this meeting, or here and have not moved forward with signing up into the county state debris removal program or have gone through the self-certification process, we encourage them to contact our office as soon as possible so we can get them into the program. We're also looking at putting in, we worked with planning, public works, operations team, and setting up a temporary transfer station in Toyon. What this will do will increase the number of trucks we're able to remove burn debris from 10-wheelers and transfer it into 18-wheelers, and the 18-wheelers will haul the ash to forward landfill. So we're looking at, there'll be crews working on that over the holiday break, so hopefully we can move forward with that after the first of the year. So we're continuing to look at ways we can improve our processes. We're up to 32 teams right now. We just finished a HAZWOPER class. We'll be having a couple more teams after the holiday break, and continuing to push public safety. Now I know with our drivers, I appreciate the public's patience. There's a lot of trucks on the road. It's besides debris removal trucks, logging trucks, and a lot of other trucks, and so we're encouraging all the people in debris removal operations, safety is number one, and to follow those speed limits and be courteous when they're out there. So any questions from the board?
Any questions from the board?
Jason, there are 32 teams up and going, did you say?
Yep.
Okay, and how many people are are doing it on their own? Do you have an idea?
We've only had, let's say, we've had 2 properties do it on their own. We've had a few properties where they've lost a chicken coop or something, so they kind of go through our non-HAZ self-certification process. We probably have had a dozen of those. We're seeing the people that were planning contractors that were going to go through the self-certification process, that a lot of people's insurance won't cover the complete costs for hauling the debris out and disposal and the rest of the activities involved.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a couple things, Jason, and if you're not the one to answer it, at least I'll say this and carry on through the presentation. I have some people who have called me about the PG&E crews or whoever they've contracted with, about the trees that are falling, and sometimes they've destroyed septics, etc. Is there any compensation for that when that happens?
That would you'd have to talk through PG&E or the contractor that they're using, whoever damaged, not through our program. The debris removal program, if the septic system's been impacted, we will pump the septic tank, but not perform any repairs on that tank. So if the system has been damaged by independent contractors, I encourage the property owners to contact those vendors that are on the property that may have damaged it.
Okay, would the same go for private roads? Our Public Works Department, or not Public Works, obviously, we're not going to repair private roads that have been destroyed during this, are we?
So we are working with Public Works, Jeff and I just mentioned it, on some of the private roads, although it's not Public Works' responsibility. The debris removal teams are documenting the roads prior to going in and what they're like when they're done after they remove debris in an area. If there's impacts from their trucks, that they will make the necessary repairs to the roads. But again, it's documentation of if there's a lot of other impacts on the roads, private roads, besides the debris removal teams. But we are looking at that, and we've taken in some complaints that have come in from debris removal teams and sent crews out there to look at the roads and make repairs. And we've 2 weeks ago, where we're using getting water, the road was being impacted off of Jesus Maria. The crews went out, laid some gravel down, and repaired that area where there was a tenant living right on that property. So when we do get those complaints, we do look at them, and if there's things that we can do, we move forward and implement those measures.
Okay, so if I get one,
let me know.
Fire it to Jeff or you?
Yeah, fire it to me and Jeff, and we can move it forward through the process.
Yeah, it's been my experience. I've had a few of those, and Jason's done a great job of following up.
I'm sure he has. I haven't gotten as many of these as my counterparts to the left of me here, I'm sure. But another question that I was asked, and I don't know if these are available, if we can use them, or and if it's not you, but as I said, maybe it'll keep rolling. Somebody's asking if they can get composting toilets, or there's even another military type that I forgot the name of it. Do you remember? She actually had a name of it, but something that the military uses. Could the federal government issue them? Have you run across this yet?
So, I mean, we've had, I know in the past, and Brian can probably speak a little bit more to it since he had the on-site department prior to me, but the composting toilets are not approved to be used in Calaveras County at this point in time. We've looked at them, and here it comes. And as their use in the past as experimental, but at this point right now, they're not approved in our rules and regulations. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian.
You're absolutely correct, Jason. Supervisor Wright actually had inquired of this, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. I did a statewide survey on this issue, and the issue that there are some jurisdictions that allow them, and there's some that do not. The ones that do have found that they're very, very high maintenance. They're difficult to operate. So the idea that they are really kind of a maintenance-free or very easy to use system is not really factual. What we have found, though, is that jurisdictions that do allow them as a secondary source using a primary septic system as a primary source. So they're a little bit more difficult to operate, and especially the maintenance is very high. So I just want to speak to that real quick because I did do a statewide survey on that issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And one thing to add to that, we're going through the county is right now, we are going to be preparing a local agency management program agreement with the Regional Water Quality Control Board regarding on-site wastewater treatment systems. So that we'll be working with in partnership, kind of getting off topic here, but one of the things is the Regional Water Quality Control Board will be looking at our rules and regs along with Amador and Tuolumne County and Mariposa. We're working on it jointly and looking at approving and that our regs meet the requirements of AB 885 that was passed a few years back. So as we'll be looking at redoing our rules and regulations and seeing at that point in time how that fits into moving forward with AB 885 and the local agency management program.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think what Steve was trying to get across here is during this state of emergency, there's folks up there that are not using compost toilets. And there's some spillage in some areas and things like that. It just seems to me like it would, it might be worth it to look into something a little bit different than what's going on right now.
And even on a temporary basis, there's nothing that prohibits, whether even a porta potty somebody having on their property, which we would not allow on a normal basis, but on a temporary basis during this disaster and the recovery efforts, that is one thing. So that's something that we can explore and look at where it fits in and look at it further.
And
we haven't had anybody come to our office that I know of requesting that information, but when we get those requests,
I think
we
what's
are looking at
happening
them
is people are
individually.
afraid to come to the office because they're afraid they may get kicked off their property if something happens that they get inspected or something like that, and then government comes in and finds out, oh boy, could be issues. Personally, I'd much rather just try to find a solution and keep folks on their property.
Okay. Yeah,
So
we can look
can-
at that, and that was one of the things too, and that we, even with the resolution that was passed earlier with the board, is looking at ways where we can, help improve the process with our existing rules and regulations, and that was one way, and we can look at this as a potential temporary basis.
We look at things as a board, as a government, and people that are, we're constantly involved in certain aspects of recovery and finding certain solutions. Folks, some of the folks out here in the field that are going through this, first of all, they don't have any trust for government, a lot of them. Secondly, they don't know how it's going to react to them. And so, and they're not in tuned with, the good things that also can happen through us. And so there's a barrier there, I think, that we need to try to cross to be able to find solutions for folks. And it's one of those unmet needs situations, I think, that that we'll probably get further into later.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, we witnessed that as we were having people sign up in the debris removal program.
we did.
And having, now we're up to 779 properties. And so I know I've had conversations with many people in this room. And there's approximately, we estimate maybe another 100, 130 properties that have not signed up, or we don't know what they're doing, that we're going to have to, sit down and have a conversation and how we can assist them, so.
Yeah. So, and Jason has said from the get-go, we walk on, we want to clean up the hazard caused from the fire. The chemicals that are within the burn for some of these homes and shops and whatever else contains a lot of different chemicals that are very hazardous to people. Asbestos, the heavy metals, which I don't know too much about. Arsenic is one I know about. And arsenic is almost in every burn site that had treated wood. Now, so at first I was thinking, well, you were going a little bit overboard on some of this stuff myself. But I have friends that have lost their animals to, presumably this ash that is that has been burnt and is out there, and they're healthy animals, and all of a sudden they're out there sniffing around in this stuff, and they're no longer with them. So it's really important that people realize if you take a look at everything that we own in a house and it burnt, there's not a whole lot of natural stuff that got burnt. And it produces all kinds of different results. We don't want to be inhaling that stuff. We don't want our animals inhaling that stuff. So, if you're in a situation where you haven't contacted environmental health yet for your property, we don't care about what you're growing up there or what you're doing up there. We care about cleaning it up, so that cleaning the burn up, so that nobody's going to get sick in the future, and we don't have these long-term effects of illnesses due to the ash and the chemicals and all the other stuff, not only to ourselves and our families, but to the animals that are hanging around there too. So please take that into consideration if you haven't already.
Thank you.
And thank you for your, I know how hard you've been working. When you first took this job, you didn't have any gray hair, and now look, it's amazing.
Somebody said I should grow the beard out until the last property is cleaned up, but I don't know. You guys might not let me in here, so.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, Jason.
Challenge.
So you have 290 lots cleared. You're doing 32 teams right now, which is about, what, 10 a day?
Yeah, 10 to 12 a day. We're approximately, depending on the property, 2.5, 3 days per property. But again, it depends on the property, how much debris is there and stuff, so.
And as far as the trucks on the road, there's about 140 trucks rolling?
Yeah, even more than that now.
More than that?
Yeah, I would say about 185.
Okay, 185 trucks rolling. For the most part, I've witnessed a lot of the truck drivers. They seem to be very cognizant of the speed limit, and they're courteous, but, of course, we hear about the ones that aren't. And I would just ask that you reiterate that to them in your safety meetings. I know you're having safety meetings. How many people are showing up at those safety meetings?
The safety meetings are with our laborers, equipment operators, and division leaders, and I think the last one we had, there was probably about 375 people there.
So we got, with the truck drivers and the folks that are working on the ground, there's pretty close to 500 or 600 people working on this.
Yeah, I'd say closer to 600 people.
All right, so that's a pretty large operation for anywhere. And you got to hand it to Jason for managing that whole effort there. That's been really great. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all your support.
Thanks, Jason.
How many lots are signed up to be cleared again?
779. That might have went to 780. I was on the phone with a lady yesterday who was going to sign up into the program. So we're still, I know we had a deadline, but we're really trying to push people now. Trinity County, with the fire that happened there last year, They finished it all, and then they just had 35 more people sign up over the last couple of weeks. So
When people find out that the
my goal
insurance-
is that we try to get it, why we have the debris removal teams here, all the equipment and everybody, that we get as many people as possible signed up, or they go through the self-certification process, which they can also do.
So, to be clear to the public, if your insurance won't pay for it or won't pay for all of it, the program will still pay for it.
Correct.
If you don't have insurance, the program will still pay for it. So the goal is to keep the hazard out of the neighbor's property, out of the waterways, and into where it's supposed to go, and that's where they're taking it, so.
Yeah,
thank you.
and also restoring our community, so we don't have to look at, burned chimneys and properties for 5-10 years, so. Thank you.
Jason, will you be able to publish that road list, that road map?
Yeah, the map
online?
is-
Yeah, I'm gonna work with Stan and his crew where they can, it's a big map now, and see how we can minimize it and be able to put it out on the Butte Fire website, so it at least shows where the teams are.
That'd be
So,
great.
Where's it at? I'll come and take a picture.
There, come on down. Okay,
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
bet. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Philip Sherwood. I currently serve as your chair of the Calaveras County Commission on Aging. With me today, I'm joined with 7 other commissioners. Could you please stand and be recognized? And Susan, to you over here also. Thank you for being here. I've prepared remarks from our commissioners, and I think you have a copy that's been provided to you, and there are copies for the public out on the table. I'm here to give you a report from the commission on the impact of the Butte Fire to senior citizens in our county. According to the latest census figures in our county, those over 60 years of age comprise about 33% of our citizens. So we have a significant senior population in this county. My comments today come from the firsthand experience of 8 of our commissioners. These individuals provided direct services, volunteered their time for administrative duties, and interacted with hundreds of county residents. I'm very proud that 8 of our 14 commissioners were on the front lines during the fire. Please note, one of our 15 commissioners, and this person resigned a couple weeks ago, lost her home in the fire. Another of our commissioners suffered structural losses to their property. So they know the grief and the feelings of despair from the fire. My comments today should be considered not as criticisms, but rather as lessons learned. These are based on the perceptions and firsthand encounters of these commissioners. I can't verify each comment. I'm the messenger in effect, but these are the things that they actually experience. We're also offering suggestions about possible services in future emergency situations as part of this presentation. The first lesson learned, well, this is a very critical one. There's a need for immediate temporary housing to shelter frail or older adults and those with disabilities. I am myself disabled. I have a crushed L4. I can't lay on a cot for more than 5 minutes without really hurting my back. And I think that's something in an emergency that is not recognized, that some frail people cannot go to a shelter and be on a cot. There's also, was clear to a couple of our commissioners that there's a need for immediate mental health services because of the grieving process and the loss. The county did send 5 staff, but it was after 5 days into the fire. Prescriptions were lost. In any emergency, that happens. Yet there appears to have been a conflicting guidance from FEMA about denying the availability of short-term prescriptions. They took a number of days to be sorted out. It's noted that there was no full-time OAS person. Initial coordination was a bit chaotic at the beginning. What is very troubling to me is that there was one incident that a legally blind resident of this county was denied shelter care because, what I didn't write there, person required prescriptions. And the staff in that shelter did not want to take the responsibility of giving the prescriptions to this person. So the person was sent away. Alternative temporary housing options were not fully known. Unnecessary placements in Tuolumne County when Calaveras options were later identified. And again, that's troubling. A couple of our commissioners actually witnessed that donations that were actually brought to shelters were refused. And then that was countermanded and donations were accepted. Overall, those commissioners involved with the emergency felt that the Red Cross response was good, but they didn't have the same feelings about FEMA and the coordination between FEMA and Red Cross. One commissioner felt that the remote areas would have been benefited from outdoor sirens for mandatory evacuation, some sort of early warning system at key junctions. It's also noted that Calaveras County Department of Health employees were well-trained and highly responsive. That speaks well for the county staff. Ironically, a Weber barbecue was used as an emergency safe. Go figure. What? I guess it must be fireproof. Common Ground Senior Services continue to provide meals to seniors and transportation services during the emergency. What I didn't write down there, even though one of their vehicles was torched in the fire. That says well for them. Here are a few suggestions. One, establish an MOU with hotels for a certain number of rooms to be available to shelter frail older adults and those with disabilities. Have that as a standing MOU. Two, plan for mail access in a disaster. A number of our commissioners spoke with people who had concerns about getting their monthly income checks. They were not doing direct deposit. They were relying on that check, and there was confusion on that. Three, develop an inventory listing nonprofit services that can be accessed in an emergency, sort of a county inventory of who can do what. Number four, create an emergency box for residents to place important papers and medicines in. And that whole idea is almost like a service project for Rotary, Kiwanis, or Lions, of a cardboard box that might have a couple of sides in it, has a handle on it, and literally people in an emergency have it in their home, and they can throw their prescriptions into it, important papers, birth certificates, et cetera, and they can carry it out. And I think that would be really helpful if everyone had one in their home. Next, conduct public volunteer emergency training on a regular basis. One of the comments that was made by one of the commissioners involved is the training here at the administrative center, his training was all of 15 minutes. And he was to provide triage, if you will, that is, you go here, you go there, they do this. And literally, he was learning on the fly at the same time. So various types of what I call volunteer emergency training for those who want to volunteer would be very helpful. Another suggestion is to provide health hazard masks. I know some were provided, and we also know that some of our residents refuse to wear them. But they could be made available on a more global basis in the county, whether we have them available at fire stations or libraries or other places. And finally, create a master spreadsheet listing available services in an emergency to better communicate with those affected. In essence, what that means is the various programs, whether it's FEMA, Red Cross, running the gamut, who provides what on one sheet so a person could know very clearly rather than going from station to station to station to be interviewed. They would have a sort of a shortcut way of being able to know, here are the programs you may be eligible for. So this ends my comments today. What questions do you have for me?
Questions from the public?
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. I just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to the opportunity to get together with Phil and talk about the resources that are already out there. As he mentioned, pulling them together. There are a number of concerns that he mentioned that Red Cross already does. Our local mass care lead, Dennis Lewis in West Point, oversees the programs for CERT, Community Emergency Response Teams. And it just so happens that the Citizens Corps Council is hosting in Copperopolis a community emergency response team training for Calaveras County. So it's limited to the first, I think, 20 participants. So, but just because you go to Copperopolis for the training, doesn't mean you work in Copperopolis only. It's countywide. So I'd like to share this. If you could put this out there on the website, that would be wonderful. And I'll give one to Phil as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other public comments?
Oh, and it's free.
I have a comment about the last speaker in talking about the property cleanup. I'm really glad, Cliff, that you've kind of made a 180 on allowing people back on their property, because I remember initially, I think Debbie Ponte was chastised for not wanting to let people go right back on their properties without proper cleanup, knowing that there's danger lurking in every corner. So that was real heartening. I appreciate that. And thank you, Debbie, for being strong in that and sticking with your commitment to protect the public from ourselves sometimes. Thank you.
I just want to thank you for giving me time to speak to you today.
Thank you. Any board members want to talk?
I do. I thank you for this. There's been some other agencies and commissions and groups that are kind of summarizing what they saw from being kind of boots on the ground during this process. So this information is helpful, and I know that, this board will be taking a look at this and next year to take a look at, how better coordination, what worked, what didn't work, where we can improve, and that sort of thing. So this is good information to share now to give some thought to, so when we get to that process, maybe we'll have some additional thoughts. Thank you.
Well, thanks for all the Common Ground did during this emergency. From day one, Kathy Topol she was advocating for seniors and everybody in county, and working alongside the Calaveras County Association of Realtors as well, and with our county admin to get housing for the folks that, that needed it. So they were interviewing people immediately. I think within 3 days, they had like 78 people. Was it the first day? Yeah, well, from the first day they were putting, but within 3 days, they had, I think it was 78 people housed. And, when something like this comes along so big, it's not just a small little catastrophe where you need to house 5 or 10 people. There was hundreds. And even if we filled every place available, of course, we had responders fill in those places too. We were actually housing responders down in Lodi as well. So it was a challenge no matter what. But I got to hand it to Common Ground for pushing hard and advocating for the senior folks. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. And thanks for bringing this forward, Phil.
Rosemary Wilson, I just wanted to thank Phil for the presentation. I remember a few years ago when I was on the Area 12 Agency on Aging Commission or Board. At that time, it appeared that the Commission on Aging for Calaveras County wasn't really very, didn't really seem to have a presence within the county. Maybe I'm not saying things quite rightly, but I was very pleased today to see so many people from the commission, and the work that they've obviously done in compiling the list shows that they're here to support the seniors of the community and other people who are not as able-bodied as they might like to be. So thank you for their presentation.
Okay.
I'll agree with her and chime in a little. I've been attending their meetings as sort of a de facto member for a few months now. They're very active. They're very concerned about the issues affecting our elderly, I appreciate Phil coming forward, as well as all the other commissioners being here. It helps me to hear these things also, and to regularly attend the meetings when I attend the Area 12 Agency on Aging governing board meetings, and I appreciate the work that they do. Thanks, Phil, again.
Great. Thank you.
Jeff Krovitz, Director of Public Works. Before I get into the Butte Fire report, I wanted to give you a little bit of IWM news, because I'm not sure when I would be able to get back this afternoon. Wanted to remind the folks in the audience and the board that our annual recycling program for Christmas trees, gift cards, boxes, and wrapping is up and alive and well. The gift cards, boxes, and wrappings can go with the curbside at any time or all of the transfer stations within the county. Christmas trees is curbside between January 2nd and the 15th, and at almost all of the transfer stations, Arnold, Copper, Rock Creek, San Andreas, Vallecito, and Wilseyville. Also wanted to announce that we are starting a new mattress recycling diversion program that will begin on the 30th of this month. With the arrival of Container, it is a grant program. It is grant funded through mattress manufacturers and Cal Recycle. And it will be available at Rock Creek. So if there's anybody who wants to bring the old mattresses to Rock Creek, we will take them and get them recycled.
They won't be charged anything extra for that?
I don't think there's a charge associated with it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, last announcement in terms of IWM is we are going to officially re-kick off the Solid Waste Task Force meetings. Those will be occurring the third Monday of every month at the San Andreas Town Hall, except January and February, where the Mondays fall on a holiday, and they will be the next Tuesday. So 4:30 January 19th and 4:30 February the 16th. But we will send out specific emails to the board. I'll hand out these to the board if I can, and you can review them real quickly about the programs I just spoke of. Okay, talking about Butte Fire, you can ask me any questions on the EEI that was delivered, but I want to start with the event of yesterday, last night, and this morning. On the western edge of the burn, we received about 3¼ inches of rain. On the eastern end of the burn, we had about more than 4½ inches. I had localized debris flows, had a tree fall across one road that is now moved, and we have to close Hoover Road at the crossing of the Calaveras, North Fork of the Calaveras River, which was fully anticipated. It will take a number of days to dry up before I could even get equipment across the river or in from Goldstrike to be able to attempt to mitigate that. And if we get a lot of rain back to back, depending on the forecast and what actually happens, I might not be able to open it up in the near future, but this was expected. We had a tree down again, Jesus Maria Road, a tree down on 6 Mile at Vallecito Bluffs Road. Both of those have been removed. Cleanup is done. And we have just minor events that we mostly got cleaned up. So that's pretty good. I think we were as prepared as we could possibly be for an event of the magnitude that we got. Additional information on the burn, continuing to move ahead with our PA and our ER program for the repairs on public property. I do want to clarify what's happening with hazard tree removal, because we had a comment earlier during the public comment period. Hazard tree removal comes in a number of flavors within the burn area. The utilities that have utility easements on public and private land through their Public Utilities Commission charter have the right to remove trees that are either within their easements or have the possibility of falling onto their easements and interrupting overhead service. So in general, that would mean that PG&E and AT&T have free rein within their easements to be able to cut down and fall trees. What they have been doing in the initial aftermath of the burn in an attempt to restore service as quickly as possible is that we're dropping the hazard trees and then restoring service and then coming back after service was restored with a secondary contract to clean up. They do not have any right to fall a tree into a water course and leave it there. And we've clarified that with the Regional Water Quality Control Board. The last I heard, there were approximately 35,000 trees that would fit that criteria within the burn scar. Additionally, we have trees along our public right-of-way, along the public roads, and the ones that were immediately adjacent to the public roads that were burning during the fire, Public Works was falling so that they would not fall on block roads, and so we could maintain access for CAL FIRE and other emergency crews for suppression efforts. Following that, Public Works went through and picked out the dead trees along the road that were identified by CAL FIRE foresters as being dead, burned and dead. Those we also cut down and removed. There are an additional approximately 5,000 trees remaining along our public right-of-way that are burned to some degree or another. I went out with a contract. The bid period closed on Friday. We are currently reviewing the proposals for either foresters and or arborists that will help us and to certify that a tree indeed is a hazard tree. And if it is, then we have permission to remove it. And then that would be funded under the PA program through FEMA with our requisite match. Any questions?
I had a question, or not a question, sort of a complaint from a landowner in the burn area who owns property up there that the trees were dropped by tree removal contractors, and they weren't bucked up into rounds, but they were cut into like 6 to 8 foot pieces, and then they called a forester to sell their timber, and the forester said, no, you've got to have them X length, whatever they want. Are these tree removal companies talking to the landowner whenever they can before they do this?
Maybe. I think during fire and fire suppression activities, they probably didn't feel like they had time. If there is a tree on private land that's downed, that was fallen as part of the fire, they should be contacting PG&E if a landowner needs help with disposal.
No, this was recently.
Okay. In terms of private tree death or salvage on private property, CAL FIRE has a set of rules and regulations on their website. I've got a link to it on the Public Works website that allows for emergency logging. And there are a number of logging contracts that have been going on in the burn area. Generally, these are not a profitable enterprise just because the cost of timber following the volume of trees from the rim fire and other fires that are both north and west of us have reduced the cost or the value of that timber. But it can help to defray the cost of removing standing dead trees and remove the danger of them. However, I don't think that any property owner should expect to be making money or profit on this, but they will help defray the cost of the removal and the treatment. So that's the best we can have, that we can recommend. Following a fire that's been declared as a state disaster, CAL FIRE has a very foreshortened and quick timber harvest requirements, so that by contacting a registered professional forester, and there's a number of them that are local that are listed on the CAL FIRE website, they can come in and take care of the environmental clearance that would allow a private owner to remove dead or damaged trees on private lands in a logging operation without it being a very long process. Generally, 3 to 5 weeks is all it takes to get the permit.
Thanks, Joe.
Any other questions on the fire or fire recovery from Public Works? Happy holidays, then.
Any questions from the public? All right. Happy holidays, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Merry Christmas. Charlie, it's your turn.
Thank you, Chair. There's no other county department heads here. Good morning. Charlie Simpson, Cal OES, Division Supervisor for Calaveras County. Things are moving slowly, but they are definitely progressing. You heard me say that overall, the progress of this disaster is going much quicker than a normal, and I still agree with that. There's been a couple of little things that we were hoping to get people into the manufactured housing units before Christmas. The crews are working frantically, still trying to get that done. They lost a day yesterday because of the high winds down in the valley, and they couldn't bring the units out safely. But there were a couple of hiccups last week, a couple of speed bumps, and I would wish, or would like to, on behalf of FEMA and Cal OES, personally thank both Supervisor Edson and Brian Moss for their involvement in getting us past some of those hurdles. It got to a point where we needed some help, and they jumped in and helped us. So thank you very much for that. As it stands today, between the commercial sites and the private sites that have already been identified as viable, we have a surplus in the sites already leased of 5 units, 5 potential placements of MHUs for people that aren't identified for those yet. And what I'd like to point out to you is, because the rental assistant program that FEMA has, because there are no rentals available to place people in within the county, and for people that don't want to go to other surrounding counties, there is the possibility that renters can go into those units. There's already been several identified that renters who are normally not eligible for the program because they don't own the home, that they are in fact eligible for that. So,
What size are the units?
they have 2, 3, and 4 bedroom. I understand that the 28 pads that they leased here in town are all going to get 3-bedroom units, was the last I heard, even though the people may have qualified for a 2-bedroom just because they ended up having more than what they anticipated, and it's easier to send them out rather than sending them back to Alabama to be replaced by a 2-bedroom for what the people may have qualified for. So essentially, some of the people will be getting a little upgrade. So the full statistical data report was already sent to you, supervisors, by Brian Moss this morning, and it contains all the individual statistical data for both Lake and Calaveras County, and you can see all the information both in the manufactured housing units as well as the transitional housing and some of the other benefits that people have been eligible for. That concludes my report, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for working on those units too, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Any public comments on this?
This time I'll remember to introduce myself. I'm Mona Baruti with the Hive, a Butte Fire Recovery Center. I had a question about the gentleman who just spoke. How will people be able to access these 28 units? Is FEMA deciding who's going to be getting those, and will they be contacted by FEMA or OES? Or is this an application process that's open to whoever's interested?
As long as they registered initially, that determines their eligibility, and there's already, all the people that were eligible for those housing units have been identified and have been contacted. If there's someone who believes they've been left off the list, they need to call the FEMA 800 number and explain that they feel they should be eligible for that and be reevaluated.
And is it, if they were eligible for rental assistance, they should be eligible for these, or is it some other?
Mona, can you come up to the stand, please, so that the public can hear you as well?
Sorry. If they qualify for rental assistance through their FEMA application, is that the eligibility that they would have for what you guys are looking for?
I'll use the words probably.
Is there some other eligibility that they might have had under their FEMA application?
It's possible, but that's where they really need to talk to the FEMA eligibility.
So just have everybody call.
It's the best.
Okay.
It really is.
Thank you.
Hey, Charlie, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Let's say we get, folks that qualify for the temporary housing, and they move in, and 3 or 4 months down the road, they're able to rebuild, get back onto their property. What then happens to that unit? Does it become available for somebody that could go into it again?
It can be turned around and moved to a different site. However, there are an adequate number of units that have been pulled out from Alabama that are sitting at McClellan, and I doubt that they would need to turn one of these units around. It is theoretically possible. What they do not do is sell them to the property owner or put them up as surplus for sale here. They may go back to Alabama and be put up for surplus or other things depending on the condition, but they,
So if the person that gets the unit moves out of it, there's no chance for moving somebody else into it?
yes, that is a possibility as long as it's maintained and can be brought back to the same level of standard that it was when they moved in. But, you know, I doubt that they will need that, because if there's a family that is in need of one that qualifies for one, they should be placed in one now,
Slated for it.
not 3 or 4 months down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Sir, one more question. Do we have any numbers on the folks that have applied for those compared to our units available?
The people who have applied, the total eligibility number is 134.
And we have how many units available that you're aware of?
Just a minute, I will tell you. I think they have a total for both counties of 160, but when I give you that figure of the 134, there's many of those have already located other housing. Some were have said that even though they qualify now, they do not want to have that. That's 20. So for the majority of it, there is enough housing to meet the need, and if there's a need for more, FEMA will bring more from Alabama.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Was there another question?
I did. You know, the report that you sent, I think you just kind of maybe glossed over it, and I find it somewhat impressive, because you hear things like, you know, FEMA doesn't do anything, and FEMA doesn't call me back, and blah, 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 blah. So would you mind summarizing that first page of the number of registrations and the housing assistance and the dollar amount associated with those things? Because I find that quite impressive.
Okay.
And just in a 90-day period of where we're at.
Okay, keep in mind that that first page is combined Lake and Calaveras counties.
Okay.
So the number of people who registered, 3,830. There's been a total of $7.4 million of housing assistance approved, $4.4 million of other needs assistance. That's the up to 32,900 direct assistance given to survivors. The rental payments so far for 833 units is $1.3 million. They've already paid for 521 units for repair and replacement costs, just over $6 million. The SBA has approved 234 loans totaling $20 million. What I do not have is the breakdown of those numbers per county. Some of the, later on in the report, there's some individual county numbers for particulars for the modular housing unit. But either way, as we reported last year, the individual assistance that has gone directly to citizens of Calaveras County is just over $4.9 million.
Right.
And that is grant money, not loans.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any other reports on the Butte Fire? Great, thank you. Drum roll, please. So, we have a choice right now. Do you want to start now, which will be 20 minutes of a presentation, or maybe half an hour, and then into the public comments, or do you want to take our lunch break now, come back and just go through it? Let's say forward.
I would say take a lunch break, because there are people that were expecting to be here at 1 o'clock for this to be good.
I'm happy to actually get it going, because everybody's been sitting here for that long, and we do have time.
I know.
Okay.
And then they'll have time, people will have time to.
So, all right, so we're gonna have county council set up, do her presentation, and then we're gonna take a lunch break after that.
We got 3 to 2 here.
Yeah, but he's the chair.
We're gonna take a lunch break after that. There's a whole bunch of them out there, though. And
No.
and then we'll come back for the comments, okay? All right. Depending on how long it lasts.
He's asking if they could do.
Oh, before the presentation? No. After.
If I DFO, just kick me.
Guess the majority doesn't always vote.
Megan, explain what this is about.
Now you can, we all give him authority to be chair, so that majority is what.
If I DFO.
Last time I had lunch at his restaurant.
Oh, wait a minute, no, what that's for?
Man, you're serious. Maybe we should.
Karen, are these off?